before you book your next flight to Canada, watch this. It could save you thousands of dollars. Why does this matter? Here's the law. You booked your flight to Canada, you have your visa, your bags are packed. You're ready to start a new life, visit family, or take that dream vacation. But if you have been to the Democratic Republic of the Congo in the last 3 weeks, you're not getting in. Effective July 2026, Canada is temporarily banning foreign nationals who've been in the DRC within the past 21 days. Today, we're breaking down exactly what this means for travelers, who is affected, who is exempt, and what you need to do if you're planning a trip to Canada. Let's start with the details. On July 19, 2026, the Public Health Agency of Canada announced new temporary border measures in response to the ongoing Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. As of Monday, July 20, 2026, at precisely 11:59 p.m. EDT, any foreign national who was in the DRC within the past 21 days is prohibited from entering Canada. These measures are in effect until August 29, 2026. How is this being enforced? An interim order under the Aeronautics Act requires commercial and private air carriers to not permit foreign nationals to board a flight to Canada. That means airlines are legally responsible for denying boarding. If you're affected, you won't even make it onto the plane. Why is Canada doing this? The government of Canada says limiting entry of foreign nationals who have been in the previous 21 days may reduce public health risks for Canadians and is intended to increase the effectiveness and sustainability of border measures. The health risk to Canadians is considered low, and no travel-related cases have been reported in Canada to date. These measures are out of an abundance of caution. Now, let's talk about who this actually affects and who is protected. Who is affected? Any foreign national who has been in the Democratic Republic of the Congo within the past 21 days is affected. This applies regardless of nationality. If you've been in the DRC recently, you are banned. It applies even if you already hold a valid temporary resident visa, permanent resident visa, or electronic travel authorization, ETA. Who is exempted? The ban does not apply to Canadian citizens, permanent residents of Canada, persons registered under the Indian Act. Now, what happens if you are exempt? If you're a Canadian citizen, permanent resident, or registered Indian who has been in the DR, Uganda, or South Sudan within the previous 21 days, you can still travel to Canada. However, you will receive a health assessment upon arrival and be required to quarantine for 21 days. What about humanitarian workers? The measures are intended to safely process returning workers. However, even humanitarian workers who are foreign nationals are subject to the entry ban. Now, what about earlier measures? These new measures build on earlier restrictions. So since May 30th, 2026, all persons with recent travel to the DRC, Uganda, or South Sudan have been required to quarantine for 21 days after arriving in Canada. Canada also suspended immigration documents for residents of these countries and halted processing of immigration applications in this regard. Now, there's a lot of controversy about why Canada is doing this. So now let's talk about the controversy. The World Health Organization, WHO, advises against travel bans. The UN Health Agency says travel restrictions create stigma and can make epidemics harder to control. People from affected regions and African communities have faced unfair suspicion, the WHO said in a statement. The spread of Ebola is not determined by nationality or ethnicity. Canada is not alone. The US introduced similar measures last week, preventing Americans who have been in Congo in the previous 21 days from entering the US via commercial aviation. The outbreak is serious. As of July 15th, 2026, a total of 2,120 confirmed cases, including 820 deaths, have been reported from the DRC. The WHO says more than 100 healthcare workers have been infected since the beginning of the outbreak. What does this mean for you? If you're planning to travel to Canada, check your travel history. If you've been in the DRC in the last 21 days, your trip will be delayed. And if you're a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident returning from the region, be prepared for a mandatory quarantine. Now, here's what you should know and your action plan. If you are a foreign national who has been in the DRC, delay your travel. You would not be permitted to board a flight to Canada, period. Check your visa or ETA. Having a valid document does not exempt you from the ban. Wait until after August 29, 2026, when the measures are set to expire. If you're a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident, be prepared for a health assessment upon arrival. Plan for a 21-day quarantine. Check the travel advisory for your destination. The government's travel health notice risk level for Congo is currently orange, level 3 out of 4, meaning avoid non-essential travel. If you're an airline, you are legally required to deny boarding to affected passengers. If you're planning international travel, check the travel advice and advisories page on the Government of Canada website before you go. Now, in sum, here's your move. If you're a foreign national who has been in the DRC in the last 21 days, delay your travel. You would not be permitted to board a flight to Canada. If you're a citizen or a permanent resident returning from the region, prepare for a 21-day quarantine. If you're planning a trip to Canada, check your travel history, check the travel advisory, plan ahead. The rules are temporary, but they are strictly enforced. Know your right, protect your plans. This is iChat Law, where the law gets real. If you found this helpful, like, subscribe, and turn on your post notifications. Now you know.